The first item is to consider ratifying a memorandum of understanding between Mesa County and the City of Grand Junction for I-70 and 29 Road interchange design services, identifying a projected county contribution of $207,875.50. Scott May, Public Works Director, to present.
Good morning, Commissioners. Scott May, Public Works Director. Pardon my voice. I'm trying to get over a cold. So as you guys know, the county and the city have jointly pursued this 29 road corridor as a major thoroughfare through the city. Since the early 2000s, it's actually been in planning since the 80s. Most recently, we completed planning and environmental linkages study that was completed in 2021. We then moved on to the CDOT 1601 process, and we have our systems level study now getting final review from FHWA and from CDOT. So with that history in mind, the City of Grand Junction actually received some federally, congressionally directed spending money to complete some further design on the project. That design will include environmental documentation for the corridor from Patterson up to the interchange. It would advance the interchange design to about 30%. That gives us some freedom if we wanted to use a CMGC or some other method to get to 100%. And then it also allows us to design that corridor then from Patterson to the interchange on 29 Road to 100% drawings. It should be noted that in that corridor, we've got the school that's up there, Independence Academy, and then we do have the new City of Grand Junction facility coming on board pretty quickly here. And there's just traffic issues all through that area. And so they're going to design that one corridor in two different phases. The first will be a three-lane cross section with all of the multimodal stuff that you need with city streets. And that would allow them, if needed, that they could address some of these immediate concerns right away. And then a second part of that design would be designing the 5-lane section that's going to be needed from Patterson up to the interchange. And that includes the intersection at Patterson. And we know that that sees a lot of traffic and it needs to be updated. So they've got a lot of good things coming out of that. The CDS funds include a $2 million grant. The match on that is $415,751. I have no idea how we came up with that number, but that would be shared between the city and county. So I'm asking for ratification of that memorandum of understanding between us and the city to move this forward, to get those dollars put to good use, and with our projected contribution of the $207,875.50. I know there's a lot on this project. If you guys have any questions or anything else you'd like me to touch on.
Commissioners, do you have any questions on this item?
Not now. I'd like to see if there's any comments from the public, and then we can make deliberation, if that's okay. Thank you, Scott.
We can bring it back to the board and Scott, I just wanted, just for the public's sake, I know there's work ahead of us, but could you just describe some of the work that's already been done? I know the 29 Road Bridge, and then there's, the Riverside Parkway. So I think that could help people see this is the things that we've done in the past, and this is kind of where we're headed in planning.
Yeah, I'll try to remember all of the things. So we actually started all the way at Highway 50 and that intersection at Highway 50 and 29 Road, all of the signals and everything there was part of it. And then as you start, heading down the corridor, we cross the river at 29 Road. The city did put in the Parkway, and these are just things that we're trying to do to allow various ways to get around the county and to get around the city. Patterson obviously needs some help still, but that will be coming in the future, I'm sure. As you continue to work your way down, you get to the 29 Road overpass. So that crosses the business loop and the railroad tracks there. That was a significant project shared between the city and the county. We've all done various small sections as they fall in within our jurisdictions along that corridor. And this is the final piece that really ties this whole traffic pattern together. It gives, if you look at the city of Grand Junction on a map, 29 Road is almost right in the middle of this expanse that we call the city of Grand Junction. And so it's just a really good opportunity to have another main north-south corridor that gets people where they need to go. And it's another good location. It's actually one of the only really good locations where we would have an interchange on I-70. If you look at the Clifton interchange, that's a little bit of a weird, situation there. At Horizon, that they put an interchange on curves, which is, something that we probably wouldn't do today, but it was done back then. 24 Road is at a good location, but even the one exit 26, I think it is, that's on a curve. And so this is just a really good location to provide some good circulation for our area.
That's not on a curve.
And it's not on a curve.
I think that's really helpful. I think people are confused too. 29 Road by itself without interchange needs updated. And so, if we can think about it by combining an interchange and doing the 29 Road update and work, we're getting more for our money in a sense. And we can use federal dollars, state dollars, local dollars to pull together a project that's really needed in the community.
Yeah.
But this grant funding is just getting us to a plan. And I think Commissioner Davis can speak more to that. But I think it's sort of confusing. We still need to update 29 Road with or without an interchange.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially between Patterson, and that's where a lot of that traffic comes from. So.
Can you talk about the traffic study? I think when we got to see some of the traffic study, what I found was really fascinating was how much it alleviates some of the Patterson traffic. And then when Patterson gets congested, folks tend to go into neighborhoods.
Right.
And I found that to be concerning, where we don't want people in our neighborhoods like that. Can you expand on that for the public?
Yeah, so this definitely will help traffic on Patterson. It just gives another way for people to get around. As part of this project, the city is also looking at some other connections in that area. For instance, I think it's either F1/4 or F1/2 that would cut through. And so the project as a whole is going to help traffic through that entire area. Patterson is just not big enough. That is the one corridor that gets used by everybody moving, east and west across the valley. And so this gives another area for people to get on and off the interchange or the interstate and make their way around in a better way. I think the other thing to note with the rec center coming in at Matchett there, I don't know if any of you guys have been out at Canyon View on a Saturday or a Sunday. It is crazy how much, with every single sport, I think they play out there at the same time.
Yep.
And at every single age level. They're going to do a lot of that at Matchett Park now. And so if you can imagine, without the interchange, people are going to have to either get off at Clifton and make their way down Patterson to get to Matchett, or they're going to have to get off at Horizon and make their way down. This is a nice, direct, easy connection to that area. So it is, it's going to help traffic significantly.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the greater question probably from the community is, I thought we said no to 29 Road in 2024, correct?
Yeah.
It was 2024. And they did say no to a debt instrument. That's all we were asking the public in 2024 was, can we go out and basically accrue debt to finish this project? It wasn't a no to 29 Road. I think the first mention of 29 Road, it was in the late 50s. And also a mention to this greater loop, much like 470 around Denver. There was this travel path, a loop around Grand Junction, so people could travel more effectively, not through neighborhoods. And we've essentially built out that entire loop, except the connection to the interstate at 29 Road, as envisioned decades ago. So the idea that this isn't needed is false. It's absolutely needed. 29 road improvements are needed all the way down the entire corridor. The connection to the interstate is absolutely needed. So the question moving forward is, when is it constructed? Because it's not a matter of if it's going to get constructed. It will get constructed at some point in the future, whether 5, 10, 15 years down the road, because as a part of our greater plan. This just gets us to a point where we can shelve it and say, when we're ready to fund it, when we're ready to go to the voters again to fund it, we're that much farther down the road. And I think the response we got from voters in 2024, excuse me, the response we got from voters in 2024 was, you don't have CDOT approvals. You don't have Federal Highway Administration approvals. You need to get that first. And CDOT and FHWA was saying, well, you don't have a funding mechanism, which you need from the voters. And so, you know, chicken or the egg, do you get voter approval first, or do you get your approvals from CDOT and the Highway Administration? So we went for the voter approval first, and they told us we need to get CDOT. So we're kind of in this conundrum. But so now we're moving forward with funding that we already received from the federal government to get our design plan to 30%, as you said, so that we can get CDOT approvals. FHA, the Federal Highway Administration, will probably follow along with what CDOT does. Yep. So we want to get every box we possibly can get checked, so that when we go back to the voters with a more complete project. And hopefully at that time we go back to them as well, the need will be even more so. The rec center, as you drive by, it's almost finished.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know how many daily trips this is going to add to Patterson and 20 and a quarter road, but it's going to be in the thousands of daily trips to that. So you can imagine an already overtaxed system, and then you add an additional 1,000+ daily trips to that system, to that intersection. It's only going to get worse and worse. So the system is eventually going to need this outlet. It's just a matter of when. So we're doing our due diligence. Apologize. We're doing our due diligence so that when the time is ready, when the need is evident, we're ready to hit the ground, shovel ready, essentially, if you will, with money that we've already acquired. So Scott, great project. Thank you for bringing us forward this morning, and I'm in full support of the MOU.
All right. Thank you. I don't have any questions for you. Great presentation. All right. And then we already asked the audience, so seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the item as published.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.